They have tests that you can buy online that test your mitochondria health. Revolutionary. So what we did, we took a clinical trial. We used their tests. We gave everybody a mitochondria me-screen test before they started this trial. Then we gave them spirulina, energy bit spirulina, every day for 30 days. We tested them again after 7 days, and we tested them again after 30 days. But after 7 days of taking spirulina, the key scientist, his name is Dr. Hemal Patel, and he does all of the brain research for Dr. Joe Dispenza's. He said the only time they've seen this kind of improvement in mitochondria health was in another clinical trial that took 90 days. And the participants, they did intermittent fasting for 90 days because this also helps restore the health of your mitochondria. In 7 days of taking spirulina, we got the same results that it took 90 days of intermittent fasting.
Hey there, and welcome to the Women Aging Powerfully podcast. I'm your host, Leah Vachani, certified menopause specialist and nutrition coach. Each week, I chat with top experts on nutrition, fitness, hormones, sleep, fat loss, and other crucial menopausal topics your doctor might be skipping over. We simplify complex science into actionable steps for your daily life, empowering you to tackle menopausal symptoms, weight challenges, and boost your overall health. We are not about aging gracefully, we're about aging powerfully. So grab your headphones, turn up the volume, and dive into this episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Women Aging Powerfully podcast. I'm Leah Vachani, your holistic health and hormone coach, and I am so excited to introduce Catharine Arnston today. Welcome, Catharine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's always a pleasure to interview you because you are just so full of golden nuggets of information and action steps that people can do. I love having you on because you answer so many of the questions that we all have that are right there on the tip of our tongue, and you go in depth. We're left with a lot of answers and very few questions. But let me tell everyone listening a little bit about you before we dive in. So Catharine Arnston is an expert in algae nutrition. Bet you've never heard one of those people before. A wellness thought leader and an experienced entrepreneur. And congratulations, she's just got her PhD in natural health.
Thank you.
So she's the founder, CEO, and chief scientific officer of Energy Bits, makers behind the small but mighty algae tablets. And Catharine's going to share with us, some of her recent findings on these potent superfoods in Energy Bits, and how they can actually be a simple, effective solution for supporting your mitochondria and so much more. So glad you're here, Catharine. Welcome.
Well, thank you. And, women, we have different bodies and different hormones and different needs. And so much of the science leaves us out. So a lot of the science that is available isn't catered to what's going on in our bodies and our brains. And we struggle with a lot of issues that men just don't have. Although we have lots of benefits as well, like we can multitask better than men can. That's for sure.
100%.
Right. So part of what I wanted to start with as a fellow female is to address some of the things that I hear a lot, and I know Leah does as well, about the fatigue that women are feeling, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. By the way, I'm postmenopause big time. So I went through the eye of the storm and popped out the other end intact. And I guarantee and promise you all that the same thing will happen to you, particularly if you have algae tablets by your side, as I have. I've been taking them for 15 years daily. I haven't missed a day in 15. I don't know what I would eat. I mean, I eat real food, but I really rely on these algae tablets to keep me going all morning and afternoon until I get to my main meal. So fatigue, depression, anxiety, weight gain, hormonal issues. It's the gambit is all over the place. And the interesting thing is, and chronic disease. I mean, I think it's 1 in 2 cancers that women have are breast cancer, and we're interviewing here in October, which is Breast Cancer Month. And women's have heart disease is big, and our symptoms with heart disease are different than men. They just manifest differently. Now, the interesting thing to me that all of these symptoms and all of these issues that we're experiencing, whether it's weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, ultimately are due to two contributing factors and ultimately to one main thing. The two contributing factors are we simply are not getting the nourishment and nutrition that we need to live optimally. Our soils are so overcropped, there's no minerals left for the plants to pull up. Even if you are eating organic, they're harvested before they are fully ripened, so the enzymes and nutrients aren't in the fruit or the leaves. I'm so sick of buying strawberries that feel like rocks when they're white inside and there's no flavor. I'm done with strawberries. I'm breaking up with strawberries. I'm also,
Oh
by the way,
no.
breaking up with kale because of the lectins and oxalates I discovered. But anyways, we're not getting the nourishment. We're all rushing around. We're grabbing processed foods just to fill the hole of fatigue of hunger, but we're not getting the nourishment we need. And we know we can't. We use our cell phone if we don't plug it in at night to be charged, and we know we can't use our car if we don't have gas. Well, your body is the same way, and we're simply not getting the nourishment. And we layer on top of that the fact that we are so exposed to toxins. The average adult in America apparently now has 700 toxins in them. It doesn't matter whether it's glyphosate, pesticide, spores, microtoxins. It's just endless, and it's coming from our food, our air, our cosmetics, our clothing. And you don't want to become a recluse and hide from the world because we want to engage with life. But we do need to find a way to remove as many of those toxins as possible. Some of them are at the organ level, some are at the cellular level, some are in our blood. And you're going to learn that spirulina algae fills those nutritional gaps and chlorella algae pulls out the toxins. But the combination of the lack of nutrition and the layering of excess toxins on top of the fact that as we get older, we have fewer mitochondria and the ones we get damaged. This situation is the perfect storm that's causing all of these symptoms, whether it's weight gain, brain fog, anxiety, depression, everything, chronic disease, all ultimately stems from damaged mitochondria. And as we get older, we have fewer mitochondria. It's just the way it is. We have fewer nutrients like melatonin. We have fewer antioxidants. There's one called superoxide dismutase. That's a mouthful, I know. SOD is the short form for it. And because all of these things are dropping as we get older, our ability to bounce back or protect ourselves or not suffer as much when we're younger disappears as we get older. Once you cross that threshold of 30, you start to enter that, era, that decade where things don't quite work as easily and things aren't as simple as they were. And then when you hit 40, that's when we see most people taking a serious slide. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. And I know it sounds almost impossible to believe because it's almost too simple to believe, but algae contains the nutrients that will prevent the slide and will help you recover and regain what you lost, whether it's health, brain activity, sleep, gut health, everything. And I'm not saying this just because I have an algae tablet company or that I use it myself, and I'm getting close to 70. I mean, I just turned 68 about a month ago. That's close enough to 70 to boast about it. And I take algae every day, and I have no medications, no diseases, no supplements. I sleep well, I poop well, I think well, I walk well, I do everything well, and so can you. So what I'd like to do is walk you through what this mitochondria stuff is so it doesn't feel or sound too weird, sciencey, because the scientists, all the research in longevity and health is all about the mitochondria. And I don't want you to be left behind because the more you understand it, the simpler it all makes sense. It all starts to make sense. And then you have a roadmap or a recipe on how to protect yourself. If you have a health condition, we can unwind it. If you don't have one, you don't need to get it. And algae has all these nutrients that your mitochondria need. And I'm going to explain what the critical ones are and why they work. And I assure you, this is all backed by science. 100,000 studies document everything I'm telling you. You can't argue with that number. It's not a few. It's the most studied food in the world, and the first thing you need to know is algae is food. It's not a supplement.
Yeah, I think that's great because mitochondria is kind of a big buzzword right now, and we throw it around but I wonder if the listeners really understand how it works, and then I'm sure you're going to weave in how we can improve
Yes.
our mitochondrial function, which is another buzzword. So let's totally dive into that.
Yeah. And I'll explain why they're getting damaged.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and it's whatever. So first of all, what are mitochondria? Well, they're called little organelles. They're microscopic in size, and they're in all of your cells. And what they do is they generate what's called cellular energy, which is also known as ATP. Think of cellular energy as electricity. It's the electricity that keeps your body working. If you have a blackout, you can't work, you can't do anything at home. Nothing works without electricity. Same in your body. Without electricity, your brain doesn't work, your immune system doesn't work, your digestion, nothing. It propels everything, not just running to the store or going for a walk. It's cellular energy that makes you live. Mitochondria keep you alive. That's probably the easiest thing to think about. So keeping them alive is also important because the more mitochondria you have, the more cellular energy you're going to have, which means you have more to share with your brain, your heart, your immune system, your gut, everything. Think of it if you had a dinner party and you forgot to buy your dessert for your guests, and maybe you had a leftover piece of pie from the last dinner party and you had 20 guests and everyone got like a little sliver of dessert. Nobody would be very happy. Up until then, the dinner party was great. Now they get this little teeny tiny piece of pie. Nobody's happy. Well, the same thing with your body. If you don't give your body the cellular energy that it needs, your brain needs a certain amount, your heart needs a certain amount, your immune system needs a certain amount. It's like giving them that little sliver of pie, and nobody in your body is happy. But if suddenly someone knocks on your door and delivers a huge, gorgeous cake, carrot cake or something, and now you've got everything that everybody wants for a great finish to your dinner party, same thing that happens with your mitochondria. If you can suddenly increase the quantity of mitochondria and the amount of cellular energy each one is producing for you, is like having someone showing up at your door with that big dessert cake every nanosecond. Everybody, every part of your body works better, efficiently. It's grateful because everybody's on the same side. Your mitochondria and your organs and your brain are all on the same side. They want you to live well and effortlessly and to enjoy life, not to just, pass through life. And it gets worse, as I mentioned, as you get older. So I'll tell you why the mitochondria decrease in quantity and why they're getting damaged and why spirulina in particular is the answer to virtually all of that. So the mitochondria generate cellular energy, and they are in all of your cells. They are in the highest quantity where the largest energy needs are, which makes sense, right? They generate energy. So Mother Nature put them where they need to be used. And your brain has the most. There's 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. The next highest, and your retina, by the way, because your retina is actually the front part of your brain. The next highest are women's eggs. There's, I think, 700,000 mitochondria per cell in women's eggs. The next one after that is your heart. There's about 8,000 per cell. And then your muscles are about 5,000. The rest of your body, your skin, your fat, has about 1,000. So because there's not a lot of energy needed in your skin or your fat, but it takes a lot of energy to make a human, and it takes a lot of energy to think and to operate. And your body, your brain uses 20% of all of your your ATP. By the way, you can't store ATP. It's used in the very minute that it's created. So there's nowhere to store it anywhere in your body. That's why you have to constantly keep your mitochondria alive and healthy so it can constantly be generating this cellular energy for you. So Mother Nature is pretty smart. These little mitochondria, they are located exactly where the ATP is produced. Now that sounds good, but there's also a downside because in the process of making this stuff called ATP, your cellular energy, a byproduct are free radicals. And we all know that free radicals, or maybe we don't, but a free radical is a molecule with an unpaired electron. And so Mother Nature likes balance. And so when you have an unpaired electron, that molecule knows it's unbalanced, so it will steal an electron from a neighboring molecule, which causes tissue damage. Now that one's unbalanced, and it will steal a molecule from the next one, and on it goes. And this is what leads to damage, tissue damage. So there's these things called antioxidants that have extra molecules in their orbit, electrons, that they can donate to this free radical to balance it out, calm it down, and make it go away. And so normally when you have free radicals being produced, that's how it works. These antioxidants neutralize the free radicals. The problem is in your mitochondria are the only cell in your entire body that have two membranes. All of your other cells have a single membrane. It's called a lipid membrane, which fancy way for saying fats. Now, normally antioxidants can get in and out of those lipid membranes easily. But because the mitochondria have this inner membrane that does not have these things, they're called porins. They're little, basically doors that allow these antioxidants in and out. No porins. So most antioxidants can't get in there to neutralize these free radicals that are being produced as a byproduct of the ATP cellular energy. And so because of that, your mitochondria, when they have their own DNA, are constantly being damaged by free radicals that are a byproduct of this ATP. Now, the good news is there are a couple of antioxidants that can get in there. And one of them is this long mouthful of a word called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. So this stuff called SOD is made by your body from the moment you're born. Yay, Mother Nature, because she knew about these free radicals being released and your mitochondria being damaged. So up until about your age 30, you have all of this stuff called superoxide dismutase that when you get these free radicals being released, as they will be, because they're creating as a byproduct of cellular energy, this superoxide dismutase, what it does is it neutralizes the free radical and converts it to harmless water and oxygen. Ta-da! Problem solved. It's sort of like think of superoxide dismutase as a big golf umbrella. It's protecting the rain of free radicals are constantly happening, but you got this big golf umbrella protecting your mitochondria so they don't get damaged. Just like when you're stuck in a big rainstorm, you have one of those big honkin', as we say in Canada, golf umbrellas. You're laughing because you can basically keep a whole, block of people protected from the rain. So that's what superoxide dismutase does, is it protects your mitochondria from the rain of free radicals so they don't get damaged until the age of 30. And what happens at the age of 30? Well, like a lot of things in your body slows down the production of superoxide dismutase, just like it slows down melatonin, it slows down hormones. And why is that all going on? You may say to yourself, well, here's the thing. Up until about 100 or 150 years ago, guess what? We died at 30. For millions of years, we have died at the age of 30. So our biology, evolutionarily, thinks we're still dying at 30. So it slows down everything, estrogen, melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and in the last 150 years, we've started living 60, 70, 80, 90, but our biology has not caught up and it never will. And so it's too late evolutionarily for our body to wake up and realize, hey, I'm 80. Shouldn't I have some more of this superoxide dismutase? It's just not going to happen. But that's why things like melatonin, estrogen slow down after the age of 30, because biologically, that's when your body thinks you're about to die. So after the age of 30, it slows down. By the time you are 40, and this is exactly when most chronic disease hits, whether it's brain fog, cancer, heart disease, it's endless, but 40 seems to be the marker in the road. And that's when your mitochondria have virtually zero superoxide dismutase, because it's been slowing down since 30. And by the time you hit to 40, virtually none. So that big golf umbrella you had, that was protecting your mitochondria from the rain of free radicals so they wouldn't get killed or mutated or die, that big golf umbrella has been reduced to the size of a totes umbrella, one of those little city umbrellas you carry in your handbag, and then ultimately the size of a cocktail umbrella. And by the time you're 40, it's just gone. The reign of free radicals never stopped, but you had protection until the age of 40, after which you have none. And this, to me, is why I believe disease and chronic illness and weight gain and all these symptoms that we're experiencing kick in big time after 40, and it just is a downward spiral after that. Because again, the less mitochondria you have, the less cellular energy you have to recover or to enjoy life, because you need those mitochondria to keep your lights on. That's basically what they do. They keep the electricity running. Now, I have a happy ending for you, because it turns out spirulina algae, and to a lesser degree chlorella, but particularly spirulina, has the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the universe. The highest. And the best thing about it is that spirulina algae is actually not even a plant. It's a bacteria. And why is that important? Because when you take it, there is no cellulose wall for your body to break down to have to get access to all the rich nutrients. There's 40 vitamins and minerals, highest protein in the world, and the highest concentration of this stuff called superoxide dismutase. What does that mean? Well, it means it basically almost bypasses digestion. It gets absorbed so quickly, instantly if you chew it like I do, and in minutes if you swallow it. So there's no degradation in your stomach for digestive, because it's already in your bloodstream and going right to the mitochondria to protect them and give them back that golf umbrella, so it can protect your mitochondria from this free radical damage again. Now, the trick is this superoxide dismutase that's found in the highest concentration in spirulina is also an enzyme. And if anyone knows anything about enzymes, you know that they are deactivated and damaged by high heat. Now, the problem is almost all other algae companies, other than ours, use high heat to dry their algae because they're lower priced, lower quality. They need to sell more to get to market quickly, blah, blah, blah. So that deactivates the superoxide dismutase because it's an enzyme. And so you're still getting some of the benefits of spirulina, but you're not going to get this protective capability of this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase. You can also, however, get the same power of the superoxide dismutase from fresh spirulina or frozen spirulina, because again, they have not been exposed to high heat. But the reality is, most people don't like the flavor of spirulina, so they're not, and those frozen and fresh ones, they taste terrible, they expire quickly, you can't travel with them, and they're hard to find and very, very expensive. With ours, they come in little tablets that if you don't like the taste, you just swallow them. There's no flavor when you swallow them. They are raw food because they haven't been exposed to high heat. There's no repeat like fish oil. And here's the other great thing. We have a discount code, a 20% discount code for you, Leah V, which we'll reinforce later on. But when you use that discount code and you buy a large bag of our algae tablets, they come in 1,000 tablets per bag. If you take 10 tablets a day, which is sort of what we're recommending for people for improving their nutrition, filling their gaps, and looking after your health, 10 tablets a day costs you $1 a day. So $1 a day to get your golf umbrella back, to turn your lights back on, to not have to go through all of this agony. I mean, you can take more. I eat like, I don't even want to tell you how much I eat. So, but that's sort of the maintenance level of 10 tablets. And so the large bag, if you took the 10 tablets, it would last you 3 months, cost you $1 a day, will replace a lot of your supplements. But most importantly, it's going to get your mitochondria back on their feet. It's going to turn your lights back on. And it doesn't matter what condition, health condition, good or bad you're in, nothing is permanent because our bodies are constantly creating new cells every single second. There's over 30 trillion cells, and literally every day, 30 trillion die and 30 trillion more go. So if you have great health, that's great, but it may not last if you don't start protecting your mitochondria. And this starts earlier than you think. I have charts in my presentation that show at age 30, your skin, starts to wrinkle because it also gets free radical damage. There's not as much mitochondria in there, but it's still suffering. Your muscle strength declines because it does have a lot of mitochondria. So a lot of these symptoms start earlier than most people think, but you can prevent them and you can correct them. And the superoxide dismutase is one of the best things to do that. And there are 25,000 studies, scientific studies, 25,000 proving superoxide dismutase prevents inflammation, Alzheimer's, heart disease. The list is endless. So the science is completely there about the importance of superoxide dismutase. What's missing is the world just doesn't know that it's in spirulina algae if it's unheated, if it's raw. And so I feel like Santa Claus because I'm delivering the goodies that are going to get everybody back on their feet or prevent them from falling off their feet. It's like that little graphic, I fell down and I can't get up. I want you to get up and I want you to start enjoying life, jumping up and down for life because it's possible at any age. And I mentioned my age earlier. Turned 68. I just got my PhD. Who gets their PhD at 68? Maybe a couple other people, but honestly, I can't believe I did it myself. And my brain and my body and everything that works in my personal space, you can have too, because I don't do anything else special. I mean, I will say I do prioritize sleep, and I do want women in particular to know you need to do weight-bearing exercises. So algae, sleep, and weight-bearing exercises, that's your ticket right there.
I think you just highlighted that pretty much one of the biggest complaints I hear from the women that I work with is they know all these things they can or should be doing, but it's really difficult. I work with mostly women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're wearing 10,000 hats. They're either caring for an ailing parent, they're caring for their kids, they're working big jobs. They're doing all the things. And they're like, Leah, it's just so hard to do all the right things. And what I love about what you're saying is this is one of those easy things.
Yep.
It's low hanging fruit. You can easily swallow these tablets. They're tiny. They're like aspirin size. And I just took 15 before we went on this call because I just finished a tennis match.
Oh,
And
God bless you.
I took Chlorella because it's really good for recovery.
Yes, that's the size of them. They're teeny.
Yeah, they're tiny. And ladies, I'm telling you, like, yes, eat all the vegetables, eat the whole foods, do the weight training, do the resistance training, prioritize sleep. Yes, you should be doing all that. But it's hard to be really good at that. It's hard to fit it all in. This is one of those things that I recommend to my clients because it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy. And Catherine, what you just highlighted was when you work and support your mitochondria, your whole energy throughout the day improves,
Yeah.
which allows you to have more energy to do those other things like cooking healthy dinners and weight training and, all the things you want to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
And the kind of, we call them energy bits, but there's a big distinction between a stimulant, which gives you energy, and this kind of energy. A
yeah.
stimulant is like caffeine, chemicals, or sugar. It gives you a burst and then a crash, and it gives you usually often it can give you a spike in your insulin. It's not good for your sympathetic parasympathetic system. It's just not great. Algae is steady energy because it's at the cellular level. It's the mitochondria, and that if you want a visual, think of a stimulant as like putting paper on a fire, and algae is like putting a log on the fire. But if you did nothing else, you didn't get more sleep, you didn't do any more weight, if you just took 10 tablets of spirulina, particularly, we recommend in the morning because that's usually when you're tired and hungry, but you can have them for lunch too, and you have them in the afternoon, have them for a workout. They fit in your palm of your hand, 10 tablets. Swallow them in seconds. There's no prep. There's no carbs. They're great for intermittent fasting. They don't interfere with your fast. They're ketogenic. They're paleo. They're ancestral. If you're a carnivore, you can eat them too because there are no lectins or oxalates. I kept trying to find something wrong with algae, and there's nothing. The only thing wrong with it is people don't know about it, and the quality wasn't as high as what we have. And so I've tried my best to address both those issues. But if you start to understand this how mitochondria is where the rubber hits the road, and they're, think of them as your trust fund if you want, because it is like cellular energy is like money, because when you have more money, you can do more things and you have more choices. And when you have more cellular energy, you can do more things and you have more choices. But you need to know what is causing the fatigue, what is causing the lack of sleep, what is causing the brain fog. And it's because these mitochondria, just imagine someone's just dimming the lights in your entire body. And we need to bring the light back up. And the way to do that is by protecting the mitochondria, allowing them to grow, allowing them to flourish and not be mutated, because when they send the wrong signals, nothing is working properly. But it's not this weird, it's not weird. It's been known in science for decades. And in fact, if you want to know a really cool thing about mitochondria, this might flip you out. They evolved directly from algae. Yep. And I have the science to prove it. It's a process called evolutionary symbiotic theory. And the reason this all happened was because before algae, spirulina, which is a cyanobacteria, remember I said it's a bacteria, before it started growing, Earth was just gas and water. No oxygen, no life, nothing. Nobody knows why this little cyanobacteria started growing, but it did. And after 1 billion years, and it was an anaerobic cell, which meant it operated without oxygen because there wasn't any oxygen on Earth, but it released oxygen as a byproduct of ATP. Remember I said it's got the oxygen. So after 1 billion years, there was enough oxygen so that larger aerobic cells could grow, but they didn't generate ATP as much. So basically what happened is the large aerobic cell absorbed the smaller anaerobic cyanobacteria, but instead of digesting it, that little bacteria, that little single cell organism, cyanobacteria, became the mitochondria. And it started generating all the cellular energy in the larger cells, which we now have. And this is why there are 2 membranes in your mitochondria. There's the outer one that all your cells have, which is this lipid membrane. But that original membrane, when it was all by itself, on Earth by itself, didn't disappear. It just got covered with the second membrane. And it's that second membrane that most antioxidants can't get into, except everything that's in algae. Superoxide dismutase, chlorophyll, glutathione. Virtually everything that's in algae can get into the mitochondria because they're family. They came from the same place. How amazing is that, right? And this whole theory was proven back in the 60s by an MIT female professor, yay ladies, and she was ridiculed for 10 years by her peers, mostly men, till they realized she was right. And this is how and where your mitochondria came to be. It evolved from cyanobacteria. So the other thing I want you to know is, spirulina, the first life on Earth, I now call spiritualina. There's something spiritual about being the first life on Earth. You can only be the first life once, right? And there you go. So I think it's pretty funny that this algae has everything that your mitochondria need, and your mitochondria have everything that you need. It's this food chain, and it's a beautiful sort of simplistic synergy that occurs. We just need to understand it a bit more.
Yeah. I would love to understand a little bit more about how mitochondria affect metabolic health, because a lot of women want to know, how do I rev up my metabolism? You mentioned it slows after 30 or 40, and we tend to experience a little bit of extra weight gain. I know that's a big question for women, and I think I've heard you in the past say that, taking spirulina and chlorella can aid in releasing extra weight. Does that have to do with metabolism?
It has to do with a couple of things. So again, spirulina is probably the best one for that because it has the highest protein and the highest essential fatty acids. So just off the top, it satisfies your hunger. It's almost like Mother Nature's GLP-1. It nourishes you with all the nutrients you need. The problem, most people go on diets, they reduce their food intake and their food choices. So they have a smaller selection and they're always missing some nutrients. Algae, we say it has over 40, but it probably has over 100. It's just that we've only tested for 40, and we need to do more tests. You only get lab results from what you particularly request, but it's full of phytonutrients, full of chlorophyll, full of pigments. I want to talk about one of those pigments, which is the blue one, because it has cancer-killing capabilities, proven again in science. So number one, the spirulina will satisfy your hunger. So if you are, and there's only 1 calorie per tablet, so you could have 30. We have them in these little pouches of 30. You could have 30 for lunch, and you won't be hungry for about 5 hours. It won't give you that full feeling like, a big bowl of pasta will, but it also won't give you the calories, the gluten, the insulin spike, or any of that other stuff. So just on a straight nourishment basis for weight loss or weight management, you can't beat spirulina. Chlorella is great too, but it will not satisfy your hunger, and it does have the highest chlorophyll in the world, which is important for your blood, and also it stimulates peristalsis, which is a bowel movement. Because the other thing that happens when you're reducing your food intake or you're stressed, you're not getting enough water, enough sleep, you get constipated. If you're eating dairy, if you're eating processed foods, constipation is rampant. Nobody's talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it because it's part of your weight loss, because you need to be getting rid of what your body doesn't want, because it will sit in your colon and circulate, your bloodstream will circulate and pull the toxins, stuff that's down there, stuff your body didn't want. It's like having if you don't have a bowel movement, it's like having a garbage truck parked in front of your house permanently, right? You don't want that. So same with your bowel. You want to get that stuff out there. So when it's all moving, good nourishment in with the spirulina, toxins and garbage out thanks to the chlorella for the peristalsis. But so just on a nourishment, satisfy your hunger, spirulina is your answer for that. But back to the creeping up of weight gain, I think it's due to 2 main reasons. Again, it's related to the damaged mitochondria. When they aren't functioning, they're not generating cellular energy properly, so nothing is working, including your metabolic health. But where was I going to go with this? When you are, as you get older, it just happens. We tend to eat more carbs, and I'm going to give you a bit more of a science lesson about the mitochondria, because carbs are killing us. Processed carbs, not complex carbs, processed carbs. And so when you have a lot of carbs, you have more free radicals being released, which cause more damage to the mitochondria. So your energy levels decrease, so your metabolic energy decreases. And so everything starts to slow down. So that's one thing. The other thing is back to the muscle. As you build more muscle uses more energy. It has more mitochondria and uses more energy. So one way to increase your metabolic level is to increase your muscle so that it will burn more calories on a daily basis. But let's get back to the carbs. So in that mitochondria that I talked about earlier, generating ATP, well, let's break it down even a little bit more. What is this ATP and how does it actually get made? Is it, in a blender? Is it in a easy bake oven? Well, there's a process. It's called the electron transport chain. I know, geeky stuff, but stay with me. What is this electron transport chain? Well, it's actually like a relay race. You've seen a relay race. You have a runner who runs a distance with a baton, passes it to the next runner. They run a distance, pass the baton, and hopefully they cross the finish line and win the race. Well, in the process of making this ATP, you have 4 molecules. So they're like the runners. But instead of passing a baton from one molecule or runner to the next, they pass electrons, okay? And so if the molecules are close together, as they are in a healthy mitochondria, the passing of the baton is very efficient because they're really tight, close together. Just like the runner gets close to the next runner, passes the baton, perfect. But as your mitochondria get damaged, they expand. And what happens is those molecules, those runners, get further and further and further apart from one another. And then they can't pass the electron to the next runner. So 2 things happen. You have less energy because they can't make the pass to close the loop to generate the ATP. Number two, that electron doesn't disappear. It leaks out into the mitochondria and becomes a free radical, which causes more damage, which causes the mitochondria to expand even more. So you see how it goes? You get this downhill spiral. Now, the problem with processed carbs is that they have more leakage of these electrons. So it's like having thousands of batons coming through with the runners, and they can't hold on to them. So none of them get past. All of them drop into the mitochondria. So that expansion is faster and faster. Damage is greater and greater. And so this slows down your metabolism because you aren't generating the ATP because your runners can't get close enough to one another. And there's so many electrons being leaked. There's so many free radicals. It reminds me of that movie, Lucille Ball, if anyone, she's on a production line and she's trying to make chocolates or something, and they keep speeding up the line. She can't keep up, so she starts shoving them into her mouth, and they're all over the place. That's what's literally going on in your mitochondria when you eat carbs. It can't keep up with the leakage of the electrons, which causes more leakage, which causes more damage. And this is why a lot of people go on a keto diet. You don't have to go full keto, but if you could just eliminate some of those processed carbs, honestly, that alone will make a difference. And there's no carbs in algae. We just did a clinical trial in the summertime. We're just getting the results back, where we took a small group of people and we did it with a company called MeScreen, MESCREEN. You can go mescreen.com. They have tests that you can buy online that test your mitochondria health. It's revolutionary, and they're brand new. So what we did, we took a clinical trial. We used their tests. We gave everybody a mitochondria MeScreen test before they started this trial. Then we gave them spirulina, energy-based spirulina, every day for 30 days. We tested them again after 7 days, and we tested them again after 30 days. We're just getting the 30-day results back. But after 7 days of taking spirulina, the key scientist, his name is Dr. Hemal Patel, and he does all of the brain research for Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he's a brain trust. He's got his team down at USC San Diego. Anyways, he said the only time they've seen this kind of improvement in mitochondria health was in another clinical trial that took 90 days. And the participants, I think there were 75 participants, they did intermittent fasting for 90 days because this also helps restore the health of your mitochondria. So in 7 days of taking spirulina, we got the same results that it took 90 days of intermittent fasting. Pretty
Wow.
amazing,
And
right?
how many spirulina tablets were they taking?
Well, we did give them quite a few because it was a pre-trial and we wanted to do a larger one. So we did give them 2 packets of spirulina, but 1 packet of 30 would be sufficient. When we do a second test, we're gonna do just the 1 pouch of
Well,
30
and that
tablets.
sounds more fun than intermittent fasting, to be honest.
Well,
I'd rather take 2 packets of
uh,
spirulina.
fasting is hard for a lot of people to get started, and they
Yeah,
give up because they get hungry. But this is where spirulina comes in handy too. It's
yeah.
not going to interfere with your intermittent fast. There are 0 carbs and there's no hangry. You're not tired. You're not hungry. It fills all your nutritional gaps while still feeding those mitochondria, all those superoxide dismutase.
Well,
So
and I
it's a
wonder
win-win.
if your clinical trials, I mean, would you ever consider doing both at the same time?
Well,
Intermittent fasting and spirulina?
we could, but we're trying to really evaluate. We told everybody, don't change anything else that you're
Yeah.
doing. Whatever supplements you're taking, keep taking them, whatever your lifestyle is, because we wanted to just try to control what the impact was of the spirulina.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully do a much larger one next year with just 30 tablets, and then we might do another one with spirulina and chlorella. I mean, I'm the chief scientific officer, and if I didn't have to run the company, I would be doing science projects every week because that's, data. You can't lie with data. It just is what it is. And there's lots of science, as I mentioned, 100,000 out there, but I'm particularly focusing on the mitochondria because that's what affects so much of brain fog, weight gain,
Yeah.
metabolic health, anxiety. there's a great book if you are interested in reading for anxiety or brain health, called Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer, Palmer.
Mm.
You can get it on Amazon. I did. And he's a psychiatrist at the Harvard Medical School. And he wrote this book 2 years ago, and he was the talk of the town and was doing podcasts everywhere. Anyways, it's all about how every brain issue, anxiety, concussions, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, all stem from damaged mitochondria. And it makes sense because your brain has the most mitochondria. So when they're damaged, that is one of the first places where you experience this decline in cognitive ability. Once you start taking the spirulina, because it also protects your telomeres, it improves neuroplasticity, which means it helps your brain to learn new skills. It's a great book to read, and I know him personally, but there's more and more research coming out. But if you aren't familiar with mitochondria, you might think, oh, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't want to read it, because it is complicated. But if you just think of the way that the energy is being created, it's sort of like that relay race. And so you want to keep your runners close together so they can pass those electrons along and generate all that cellular energy so everything in your body is working. And the way to do that is with algae, reducing processed carbs, and then the algae also, the extra bonus, because there's not many free electrons that get lost, is that it gives you back that big golf umbrella, superoxide dismutase, that protects your mitochondria from any free radicals, because they're going to be released anyways. We just want to reduce them and remove them. And that's what it does.
Well, and what I love too, Catherine, is women listening can do their own little scientific experiment on themselves, n equals one, but it doesn't matter because this is not something that's going to harm you. So
No.
you can actually experiment on yourself and see how much you respond and what this helps in your body if you're struggling with brain fog or low energy or poor sleep or whatever you're dealing with.
Yeah.
This is a great
There's
experiment
nothing
to
to
try.
lose. It's a win-win.
Nothing.
We
And
had this
didn't,
one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
We had one woman, she was 87. She wrote us, she had been incontinent, couldn't sleep, had no energy. She started taking both the spirulina and chlorella. And she said, within a couple of days, she said, today, for example, I went to see my great-grandson at school, play basketball. Then I visited a friend at nursing home. I came home and cleaned out my garage. I started painting my kitchen. I went through a 3-mile walk. And at 5 o'clock, I finally had dinner because all she'd had through the day was these 30 spirulina. And then I cracked up at the end. I mean, this is we didn't ask for this. She just sent it. And then I cracked up because she said, and I just signed up for CrossFit. I love the thought of this 87. Oh, and she's no longer incontinent. She can sleep at least for 5 hours at a time undisturbed. And that's just in a couple of days. And we had somebody else who had Alzheimer's. She had dementia so bad, she couldn't turn the microwave on. She couldn't find her way home. And she had been taking the spirulina, but then she forgot to take it, the energy bits, and then the dementia got bad again. So her partners reminded her to start taking them, and within 24 hours, her focus was back and she was back on track. So you don't have to wait a long time. Even in terms of hunger, your hunger will be gone within 20 minutes. If you take it before a workout, you'll have the best workout ever for good performance for fitness. We try to encourage, maybe more like 15 or 20. If you're a real athlete, definitely 30. Because again, you can't store ATP. It's used for whatever you're doing in the moment. So if you're having a great workout, you take the spirulina 15 minutes before, you have a great workout. If you're just sitting on the couch or reading a book, you'll have better focus, because that's what your body is using your cellular energy for. Again, think of it as electricity. So it's being deployed wherever. If you have a big light on in your hall and you turn it on, that's where your electricity is going. But then it doesn't mean you can't turn your bedroom light on. You get electricity there too. So you can do multiple things and have all of them improved, just like your brain can improve, your gut can improve, your sleep can improve. They're not stealing from one another as long as you have more mitochondria working, because they are functioning properly, because they're not being damaged. So everybody wins.
Sounds like you might have to put a warning label on these energy pits. Caution may cause amazing productivity, efficiency, wild amounts of energy.
I know. We joked about that. And for a while, we when I first started, I had a lot of interns and they were runners, and then the running community found us, and then the triathlete community found us, and then the Olympic community found us, and they were all loving the spirulina because it gave them so much focus and energy. And then the chlorella was pulling out toxins like lactic acid, so they had a faster recovery.
Yeah, didn't
So
you mention that the one of the hockey teams takes it, I think?
lots of hockey teams take them. The
Yeah.
Detroit Red Wings, we've been working with their nutritionist, gosh, for 10 years. And just to show you how much you can take, she puts 75 spirulina in the NHL players' smoothie before a game because hockey is fast and they need focus and they need energy. And then she puts 75 chlorella, the recovery bits, in their smoothie after the game to pull out lactic acid and build their immune system. Because anytime you're pushing yourself, whether it's with stress at work or an athletic performance, because playing tennis, it wears your immune system down. As you get older, it's harder. So the chlorella builds your immune system. But the other funny thing is, because I'm Canadian, so Canada, you either skate or watch hockey or you ski. I was a skier, but hockey players are notorious for going out and drinking beer. And chlorella, one of the toxins it pulls out is alcohol. So if you're drinking spirits or wine or beer, you'll need 30 of the chlorella. It will pull all of that alcohol out of your bloodstream, and you will be sober in an hour and a half, and you will never have a hangover.
That's amazing.
Hockey players, they like that the best.
So I get a lot of question from women because I know you also sell a combined product of the chlorella and the spirulina together.
Yes.
So they're always saying like, if I had to choose one, what would I start with?
Well, I generally start people with spirulina, and the reason for that is because you'll notice it the soonest because it satisfies your hunger, does give you that balanced blood sugar. It's great for diabetics. Please, every single diabetic, diabetes 2, please take this every single day. We can get you out of diabetes. We've done trials with that as well. So you'll see results from spirulina within an hour. You don't have to wait long with that. The other reason I start them with spirulina is because, again, it has no cellulose wall, so it's absorbed instantly. Zero stomach distress, no detox effects, nothing. You can give this to newborns, pets, children, grandparents, doesn't matter who it is. It will pass through. It will be effortlessly digested, no gas, nothing. And the reason I don't start them with a blended algae is because sometimes people, after they've tried the spirulina, when they say, well, let's now add the chlorella, which we call recovery bits, which is an immune builder, detoxing algae. It heals your guts because it has fiber. The high chlorophyll kills bacteria, stimulates peristalsis, has tryptophan that helps you sleep. So there's a lot of benefits to the chlorella, but there is a little, because it's detoxing, you might have detox symptoms, not always, and not for long, but it can happen, and we don't want to freak people out. That's why we start them with spirulina. And I also don't start them with the blended one because often people find they prefer one or the other. And if you start with a blended one, you'll never know which one you prefer. Some people like both of them. So if you like both of them and you want simplicity, you could take the blended one. We call it Vitality Bits. You'll just have to double it up. So spirulina, we say take 10 tablets of spirulina in the morning and then 10 tablets of the chlorella at night. The reason why we say at night is because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping. So if you have chlorella in your body, it will pull out the toxins in your brain and your body. It will stimulate peristalsis. It has something called chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the repair of your cells. It stimulates the release of stem cells. You can take chlorella any time of day, but we want you to definitely have it before bed. So if you took the blended one, you would just take 10 of it's called Vitality Bits, 10 in the morning and 10 at night. And it won't keep you up. Some people actually like taking the spirulina or the Vitality Bits before bed because the high protein balances your blood sugar, takes the edge off your hunger so that you can get to sleep. So it's, again, cellular energy. So if you're taking it before sleep, you'll have a great sleep. It's not a stimulant. The stimulant
No, yeah.
keeps you up. The
It's
caffeine,
so I
chemicals.
had a wild experience with the chlorella. I
Ooh.
love taking chlorella at night.
Oh, wow.
And previous to starting to take your chlorella, I was not at least remembering my dreams. I had a wake up in the morning, and if you had asked me, how was your sleep? Did you dream? I'm like, no, it's just like a dead
Yeah.
blank, nothing. I started taking chlorella and I started having wild, vivid dreams.
Really?
Like good
Oh,
ones. I mean, it wasn't like scary nightmares. Like
yeah.
I just woke up. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Oh,
Like
cool.
wild dreams.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, and sure enough, when we went on vacation, I forgot to bring it with me, which is really bad because it's actually one of the best things you should travel with for boosting your immune
Yeah.
system and,
Yeah.
detoxing whatever you might be encountering. But I forgot them and I stopped having vivid dreams.
Oh, it's so
So
interesting.
that was wild to me. And I have to say, for my husband, he said the chlorella has helped regulate his digestive bowel movements,
Yes.
like the
Yes,
whole
absolutely.
system.
And it's two good points there. So the spirulina is very, it has 3 times the amount of protein as steak, so very concentrated protein. And so when you take protein, you need to drink more water to help
Yeah.
your body process it. So if you're finding that it is making you constipated, add the chlorella because the chlorella will stimulate this peristalsis. It's a combination of the fiber, the chlorophyll. Spirulina does not stimulate peristalsis, only the chlorella. So, and a lot of people take fiber because they want to, increase their bowel movements, but a lot of people can't eat fiber because it gives them gas or they're afraid of the lectins or oxalates. So this is the solution. The chlorella does it all.
Mm.
And on the dreams, it's interesting because I was just thinking, one of the things that gets damaged as you get older and more toxins is your pineal gland. And your pineal gland is considered the third eye, and you're connecting to the universe. And it gets calcified. We have so much calcium in our diets that it gets calcified. And whenever you have too much calcium, what happens is it crystallizes, and you need a vitamin called K2 that moves calcium out of soft tissue, which is your skin, your blood vessels, your organs, and into your bones. Well, chlorella has a very high amount of K2 to do that. And so when you remove the calcium that may have calcified and deactivated your pineal gland, which is connected to the universe, and I believe I'm a very spiritual person myself, um, this may be one of the reasons why you're experiencing those dreams. I don't know. I'm just thinking. And on the calcification situation, this is what causes a lot of heart disease because arterial sclerosis is the hardening of arteries, and one of the things that's hardening is the calcium. It's the white blood cells in the endothelial cells, but it's also the calcium. So when you start removing all that excess calcium, that's also kidney stones, calcification. We're not eating K2 because it's not in our diet. You only get vitamin K2 from grass-fed animal protein or a dish called natto or algae. And so we used to have lots of K2 in the 60s. Why? Because then animals were on pastures and they have an extra capability of turning K1, which is in general grass things, into K2. Humans can't. K1 stays K1 all the way. With animals, they take K1, they digest it, it turns into K2. So when we eat animal protein, when we did in the 60s, we were getting K2. Then in the 70s, the farmers realized, well, if we put the animals in livestock in farms and feed them corn, nothing green about corn, they'll get fatter, faster, and they make a lot of money. Instantly, the K2 in our diet disappeared because the animals were no longer on pastures. And that's when heart disease started escalating right at exactly the same time. So you get all that K2 from the chlorella, which is so it's so interesting about the dreams. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think this is also a good moment to say, this is a great PSA moment for people that are perhaps supplementing with calcium and may have heard, oh, you need to add D3, which is great, but you also, as you were saying, Catherine, you need the K2 with the D3 with the calcium,
Yeah.
which you can get from your diet.
Yeah. And
Not
the
the
pro
calcium, not the K2.
yeah. I think we actually have too much calcium in our diet, and the problem is
Yeah.
you can buy K2 um, vitamins, but K2 is a very complicated
Mhm.
vitamin. They have all these different M4, M5, M7, and the
Yeah.
only version that can get into your brain and the rest of your body, I think it's M4, and it's what's in algae and in the grass-fed animal protein. The kind that you buy as a supplement, I think it's M7, it's made from fermented chickpeas. And
Right.
it's not the type that can get into your brain. So it will work in all the other body parts of your body, but you're going to have calcification in your brain as well. It's one of the problems with Alzheimer's and other stuff. So you might as well just get it. I'd say taking algae is like listening to an orchestra. It has everything, all the harmonies, symphonies. They up level each other. Taking supplements are like listening to a soloist, and it's just not a good one at that. So I tell people, don't cheat yourself with stacking all these individual supplements because they don't play well together.
Oh.
Algae is the orchestra. They all play well. They know each other. They know all the harmonies, and it's food. It's real
You don't
food.
have to worry about overdoing it because it's food.
It's
Yeah.
food,
It's
and
it's
it's
all
safe
natural.
for every single age group, every single lifestyle. I keep trying to find something wrong with it, but there isn't, at least not ours. So I'm really excited to give women in particular a simple food-based effortless, proven, affordable solution for whatever is ailing them. And I will say that whatever situation you're in, it didn't happen overnight. So give yourself time to unwind because a lot of these symptoms, they don't even show up for 10 years. They call inflammation the silent killer because it's going on. All those free radicals are damaging those mitochondria if you don't have that umbrella to protect you. So, and then the symptom shows up maybe 10 years later. So give yourself time at the mitochondria level to get back on track. You'll feel more energy instantly, but and again, nothing is permanent. Whenever we are suffering, we want to get out of our suffering so fast because it's so unbearable. I know that, whether it's grief from the loss of a job or a person or a situation or money or anything. But, time like sleep and light are there for us, but you have to relax into it, lean into it, and know that Mother Nature created this. I can't take credit for algae. I can take credit for growing it so carefully that we preserve all the nutrients. I do want to mention one parting nutrient for women in particular, because there's so much cancer and so much breast cancer, and this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I started the company because my sister had breast cancer. So there is a pigment in spirulina. Spirulina is getting all the love today. This blue pigment you've probably never heard of before. It's called phycocyanin. The other pigment that's in spirulina is called chlorophyll, which I'm sure you've heard of, and it's also in the chlorella. Phycocyanin is spelled Phycocyanin. I don't have it in front of me. Phycocyanin doesn't exist anywhere else in nature, only in spirulina. And what does it do? It's proven to kill cancer cells. And what it does is it detects spirulina in a healthy cell, speeds up those runners. Because what it does is there's a little helper molecule. Think of it like a little Tesla taking one of the runners from the race and giving them a lift. So this CoQ10 molecule in a healthy cell, the blue pigment speeds it up. So boom, you get more cellular energy, which is one of the reasons why spirulina gives you energy, because it helps this little helper molecule called CoQ10, cytochrome C, that moves things along faster. But in an unhealthy cell or a cancer cell, the blue pigment detects that it's an unhealthy cell, and instead of moving the cytochrome C molecule along faster, it ejects it. It just kicks it out, which stimulates something called a capase, which stimulates something called apoptosis, which is a fancy word for cell death. Cancer cells are not able to kill themselves. They don't know they're sick, so they don't know they should die. So this blue phycocyanin detects that it's sick and causes the death of that cell. And the cancer chemotherapy companies use phycocyanin in their treatments now. And you can Google phycocyanin. I got to spell it out for you properly. So you can Google phycocyanin and cancer treatments. And although someone told me that Google's taking down some of these really important research things, which is really so. Phycocyanin is spelled Phycocyanin. Phycocyanin. And the way they tell if the chemotherapy treatment is working is they measure the amount of these cytochrome C molecules in your bloodstream or your plasma. And if there's a lot, they know that the cancer cells have been killed, because that's the effect of the byproduct is all these extra cytochrome C molecules. But who wants to go through chemotherapy? Yeah, raise your hand. I don't think so. Mother Nature has provided this to us. It's in the spirulina, but once again, it is deactivated by high heat. So if you want that capability, you can't use algae that's been exposed to high heat. Ours is not exposed to high heat, or frozen or fresh spirulina are not. So these are between the superoxide dismutase, which protects your heart, protects your brain, protects you from anything, because it protects your mitochondria, and then this phycocyanin, which protects you from having excess cancer cells. I mean, honestly, and it's food, and it costs you $1 a day if you eat 10 tablets a day. I don't know how you could go wrong.
I think you've given every woman a tool, a superfood that they can add into their own day, into their family's day. I mean, even my dog takes it. So I think this is a great, as we mentioned, we kind of opened with this. There's a lot of things we can do for our health. The list is long, it's never ending. But sometimes you need the energy to do that. Sometimes you need something simple that you can just add into your day. And so if you're a woman that's listening to this and you are feeling tired, low energy, you're having brain fog, you're having trouble sleeping, you're struggling to lose extra weight, I mean literally anything, or you want to prevent cancer, you want to, whatever you're trying to do, this is something you should look into. And I know, Catherine, you've given a nice little discount too for anyone that wants to try it. I think it's 20% off
Yes.
for code Leah V, V for
Yes.
Victor, Leah V.
At
Yeah.
energetics.com. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put all the links in the bottom here too in the show notes. But if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, just go to energybits.com and use Leah V. Try it out.
Yeah.
Why not?
And if you don't want to make the purchase, because a large bag is normally 130, with the discounts 104, but then it will last you 3 months and $1 a day. But if you still have any doubts, and I completely get it, because I've been doing this for 15 years, and it took me 4 years to truly believe what I was reading, because I thought, this stuff is so great. Why don't people know about it? So I completely get it. Just go to Amazon. We sell little single pouches for $6. Just spend $6. You get Prime shipping, and then come back to the website and use the Leah V for your 20% off. But I completely get it. But I do want people to know algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And just like a lot of things that have been used by indigenous peoples in other countries for centuries, whether it's bone broth or chia or kiwa or collagen powder, until someone told you about it here in North America, you didn't know about it. Algae's been used and taken daily in Asia for the last 60 years. 60 years. This is where it's all grown. It's grown in, we grows are in Taiwan, which is the gold standard, but Taiwan, Japan, China, Korea, India. The Japanese don't leave their house without taking chlorella algae every single day. They have the best longevity, lowest cancer rates, lowest obesity rates, great skin and hair. There's lots of other things that are helping, but why should the Asians be the only ones benefiting from this? Like, let's tell the rest of the world, it's your turn. So it's not new. It's just new to you. And I invite you to go online and either visit us at Energy Bits or just learn about spirulina and algae, because it will change the world. It will change your world, and it will change the overall world. The United Nations has endorsed it for 50 years as the answer to world hunger. And if I do my job right, I'm going to be part of that solution.
It's amazing. And my mission here with this podcast is to share as much information with women to help them. You kind of mentioned a bank account, investments into your health. This is one thing that I've chosen to do because it's very easy, and I've seen the science that you've provided, and it's like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I want to live playing hard out in my 90s. And so I love bringing all of these things to women, easy ways that they can invest in their health, protect for the future, and live an amazing day right now.
Yeah,
So
you
thank
got it.
you so much, Catherine, for bringing all this information.
Well, thank you,
And I
Leah, for
really
what you're doing.
appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, lovely listeners. Before we go, remember, this is just the beginning of our journey together. If you're excited to explore more about hormones, weight loss, and stepping into your power, check out leahvachani.com to see how you can join me in thriving through menopause. And don't forget to stay connected with me on Instagram at Leah Vachani for daily doses of laughs, inspiration, and insights. Until next time, stay fierce and fabulous and keep owning your journey wherever you are in the world.